Hello students, welcome to today's object-oriented software engineering class. In this session, we will understand one of the most fundamental concepts of object-oriented software development, classes and objects. These concepts form the foundation for designing any object-oriented application. Let us begin by understanding the difference between a class and an object. An object is a real-world entity with its own identity, state, and behavior. It combines data and the functions to be operated on that data. On the other hand, a class is a blueprint or a template that defines the common attributes and methods shared by all objects of that particular type. For example, if student is a class, then individual students such as Anita, Rahul, and Karthik are objects created from that class. Every object has three important properties. The first property is identity. Identity distinguishes one object from another, even if both the objects belong to the same class. For example, two Samsung phones may belong to same model, but each has a unique serial number. The second property is called as state. The state of an object is determined by the current values of its attributes. For example, in a mobile phone, the battery level, memory size, and color together represents its current state. The third property is behavior. Behavior represents the actions that an object can perform. These actions are implemented as methods in object-oriented programming. For example, the operations such as install app or play game change the battery level and memory usage of a mobile phone object. Objects do not work independently. They collaborate with each other by exchanging messages. Whenever one object needs another object to perform an operation, it sends a message. The receiving object checks whether it has a matching method or operation. If a matching method exists, it executes that particular method and returns the appropriate result. A method usually contains three important elements, which is called as signature. The elements are method name, which is called as message name, and then parameter list followed by a return value. This communication mechanism enables different objects to work together efficiently in an object-oriented system. This picture represents the pictorial representation of a message between two different objects. For example, bank object is represented by the first icon and account object is represented by the second icon. Whenever input such as withdraw message is generated by the customer, bank object creates withdraw message and communicates to the account object, where it gets executed and the state of object gets changed. In UML, objects are represented using standard notation. So the standard UML object notation is a rectangle symbol where it has two compartments. In the first compartment, the name of the object is returned, followed by a colon and then followed by class name. Remember students, always the class object name and class name will be underlined. The next compartment is called as attribute compartment. The corresponding attributes along with the data type is represented with the initial value. So you'll be having attribute name, attribute type, and attribute value. Object names generally follow camel case naming convention, beginning with the lowercase letter without spaces or special characters. The operations and methods are listed only in the class diagram because every object created from the same class shares the same set of operations. The other notations include either class name alone. Without object name, we can simply have a class name by having a colon symbol preceding the class name. Or object name alone can be also represented. For example, Jimsecom. This identifies a specific object but doesn't identify which class it belongs to. The object name concatenated with the class name separated from each other by means of a colon is the standard notation of object representation. Object names generally follow a camel case naming convention where we will be having mixed uppercase and lowercase, but always the name will start with the lowercase letter. Special characters such as spaces and underscores are to be avoided. The operations or methods are listed only in the class diagram. So in the object diagram, we will be having only two compartments. First takes the name of an object followed by class name, and second compartment is the name of attributes. You cannot see list of operations represented in the object diagram because every object created from the same class share the same set of operations. From the placement perspective, classes and objects are among the most frequently asked topics in Java, C++, Python on object-oriented programming interviews. Interviewers commonly ask questions such as what is the difference between a class and an object? What are the properties of an object? How do objects communicate with each other? How are objects represented in UML? A clear understanding on these concepts is essential not only for the technical interviews but also for coding roles, software design discussions, and object-oriented programming assignments. To summarize, in today's session, we have introduced the concept of classes and objects, explored the properties of objects such as identity, state, and behavior, explained how objects communicate with each other through messages, and discussed the UML notations used to represent the object. Thank you all and see you in the next session.